Apple is one of the most valuable companies in the world, renowned for its high-quality products like iPhones. However, behind this luxury, there is a dark truth about how these products are manufactured, mainly in China. Apple is known for its cutting-edge devices, such as iPhones, iPads, and MacBooks. They are highly coveted not only for their quality but also for the status they confer upon their owners. But the factories where these products are made hide a concerning reality, which we'll discuss today. But before we delve into the topic, I'd encourage you to consider subscribing to the channel. We have videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday dedicated to providing knowledge and keeping you updated on current affairs. Now, getting back to the video's theme, Apple is currently valued at an incredible $880 billion, more than the GDP of many countries. Even after weathering economic crises, the company founded by Steve Jobs has achieved an impressive value, thanks to devices like the pioneering iPhone among smartphones. Apple is renowned for its incredible quality, especially in the iPhone. However, the idea that their devices are expensive solely due to their rare and innovative components isn't entirely accurate. For example, the latest version of the iPhone, the 14 Pro Max, costs about $501 to manufacture but is sold for $1,099. This is in the United States, where the final consumer cost is lower. Still, Apple maintains a significant profit margin, not considering other countries where the company boosts the profit margin even further. This is partly due to the brand's prestige and the perception of status that its products bring. Having an iPhone is often seen as a symbol of status and purchasing power. What many people don't know, especially loyal Apple customers, is the challenging situation in which the workers producing these devices often find themselves. Most iPhones are manufactured in China and India, in factories like Foxconn's in Changshen, known as a city within a city. In these places, hundreds of thousands of workers operate daily under often precarious conditions. Therefore, it's important to remember that despite the luxury and quality of Apple's products, there's a complex and sometimes challenging reality behind the manufacturing of these devices that deserves our attention and contemplation. Foxconn City is a highly protected place where iPhones are manufactured. It's difficult for delivery trucks to enter without undergoing thorough checks, and journalists also face challenges in accessing the location. This is because the iPhones produced there are valuable and need to be protected at all costs. However, this could also be a way to safeguard the company's reputation, as security is stringent, especially in China, where information is controlled. Despite this security, both Foxconn and Apple have faced serious issues regarding working conditions. There was a dark period where workers were taking their own lives. Many of them jumped from the factory buildings, even during the daytime. These deaths were tragic signs of desperation and exhaustion, stemming from poor working conditions. Some believe these acts were also a form of protest against the deplorable conditions. In 2010, several suicide attempts and deaths were recorded, totaling 18 attempts and 14 confirmed deaths at that time. This spread like an epidemic of sadness and despair. It's worth noting that this wasn't an isolated incident only at Foxconn. The company is a giant in the industry, not only as the leading iPhone manufacturer but also as one of the largest employers in China. Survivors and other workers reported an extremely stressful environment with long working hours, strict supervisors, and frequent humiliations for minor mistakes. Additionally, frequent fines were imposed on the workers. In response to this situation, Foxconn installed safety nets on the buildings to prevent more suicides and forced workers to sign pledges that they wouldn't attempt to jump. At that time, Apple also became involved, with founder Steve Jobs commenting that the issue was resolved and that the suicide rates at Foxconn were below the American average. Although technically true, many people found this statement insensitive given the suffering and sadness that were occurring. In 2011, Apple's leader, Tim Cook, visited the complex and met with suicide prevention experts. However, new cases continued to happen in the following years. The problem didn't disappear quickly as Apple had hoped. Foxconn City, where iPhones are manufactured, is an isolated and protected place. In 2012, around 150 workers gathered on a roof threatening to jump. They received promises of improvements and abandoned the idea, but this showed that the suicide threat had become a way to draw attention to the poor conditions. In 2016, another group threatened to do the same, indicating that the situation wasn't yet resolved. An English newspaper, The Guardian, published a report in 2017 with testimonies from Foxconn workers. They described a chaotic, stressful environment with no real improvements. Even after the 2010 epidemic, conditions remained poor. Workers reported long working hours, aggressive managers, and lack of payment for overtime. While Apple and Foxconn profited from the new iPhone releases, the workers suffered. The factory assembles iPhones on extensive production lines with hundreds of workers involved. Some assemble, inspect, and test the devices, while others perform more meticulous tasks. The pace is intense, and workers who don't meet the targets face public humiliations. Foxconn City is a kind of isolated city where workers spend both day and night. Cramped dormitories are present, as are the safety nets installed after the 2010 suicide epidemic. By the year 2023, the suicide epidemic seems to have decreased, but underlying problems may still exist. This means that Foxconn's challenges may not have been completely overcome, even if the world isn't aware of it. The situation highlighted the harsh reality behind iPhone production in China. Unfortunately, the problems and abuses still persist. Recently, thousands of workers rebelled at the world's largest iPhone factory, located in a city called Changshen, China. While Apple executives enjoy the luxury of Silicon Valley, exhausted workers raised protest signs against the poor conditions they have been facing for over a decade. Sometimes, Foxconn responds to these complaints with improvements, but not always. Although it seems that the major issue has been resolved, other problems still arise, exposing the administrative issues of this crucial production site. Even today, the workers who assemble iPhones are not receiving proper wages. In November 2022, hundreds of them protested outside the factory, complaining about the conditions, health crisis, and payment delays. Chaos ensued at the factory after the Chinese government took strict measures to contain the virus spread. In 2016, the factory hired over 100,000 employees to replace those who fled. The promise was generous bonuses due to the exceptional conditions. However, workers claim that contracts were unilaterally altered by Foxconn and promised bonuses were not paid. After massive protests, the company claimed to have resolved the payment issue, and workers returned to normalcy. The Chinese government also relaxed quarantine rules, allowing the factory to operate again. Due to these protests and the factory's isolation during the pandemic, Apple faced iPhone shortages during the latest launch, resulting in millions of dollars in losses. However, Foxconn's problems should not be overlooked. Despite its incredible production capacity, Foxconn is not a good example, as poor conditions persist. Although iPhone production is outsourced, Apple is still responsible for maintaining it in controversial locations. At the end of the day, what matters to companies are profits and money in their pockets. Unfortunately, the workers' situation is often ignored in pursuit of these financial goals. Thank you for watching the entire video, it's very important to us. If you enjoyed the content, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel to not miss our upcoming videos. Until next time.